Hi! If you just bought your first keyboard or piano and you don't know where to get started, you've come to the right place. I've made this little mini-series just for you so you can jumpstart your piano playing career. It's going to have a couple of parts and we're going to gradually build up your skills and vocabulary. And I plan to release a video approximately maybe once or twice a month. Let's get started, and we'll need a little bit of terminology. If you look at the piano keyboard, you see it's made out of repeating units. You have 2 black keys, 3 black keys, 2, 3, 2, 3, and so forth. The white key to the left of any 2 black keys is called a C. So this is a C, this is a C, this is a C, and so forth. The notes are named following the C as you would perhaps expect them to be. This is a C, D, E, F, G, and then it wraps around and A goes back to A, B, and C. And it keeps going. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, so we got the naming under our belt. The first thing I want to teach you in terms of playing is how to play a couple of simple chords. And I'm going to assume that you want to accompany yourself singing on the piano. That's kind of the popular approach to playing the piano, so maybe you'd want to sound like this. I'm going to teach you 4 chords, which will be C major, F major, G major, and A minor. Or I just play them out: C major, F major, G major, and A minor. If I don't say major after a chord name, it's assumed. So I'll just maybe call them C, F, G, and A minor. Let me start by showing you how to play them. Again, you can play them either in the left or on the right hand. We're going to focus on the right hand for starters. Here's a C major chord, and I'm playing 3 notes. All of the chords have 3 notes in this video, and I'm playing a G, a C, and an E with my right hand. Now, notice the fingering. The fingering means which fingers I use to play this chord. I'm using my thumb, my first finger, and my 4th finger. Now this is largely a matter of taste. You could use this fingering as well. Thumb, 3rd finger, and 5th finger. It's kind of up to you to experiment and see what feels natural for you. The next chord is F major. So I'm playing an A, C, and F, and I'm using my thumb, 1st finger, and 5th finger on the right hand. And the fingers are just numbered the way you'd expect them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For the G major chord, I'm playing a G, B, and D with my thumb, 1st finger, and 4th finger. And finally, for A minor, I'm playing an A, C, and E with thumb, 1st finger, and 4th finger. Again, experiment. You might find it more convenient to use your thumb, 3rd finger, and 5th finger to play some of these voicings. Now what about your left hand? So the left hand is going to play the bass note, and the bass note is simply going to be the name of the chord, the note that corresponds to the name of the chord. So for a C major chord in the right hand, you're going to play a C note in the left hand. For an F, you'd play an F note in the left hand. For an A minor, you'd play an A in the left hand. And for a G major, you'd play a G, the note G, in your left hand. It doesn't really matter how you finger these. You can just even use one finger if it's more convenient for you. So you can just jump around. But it's more convenient a little bit to put all of your 5 fingers like this, such that your thumb rests on the C, and then you can press the C with your thumb, the F with your pinky, with your fifth finger, the A with your third, and G with your fourth finger. So you don't have to jump around. Your hand just rests evenly on one spot. So now you have 4 chords under your belt, and you can first of all start by experimenting with different combinations. So let's see, you can start with a C, going to an F, going to an A minor, going to a G. How about a different combination? Let's go for something that starts with an A minor, goes to a C major, then goes to a, let's say, F major and G major. A minor, C major, F major, G major. Let's go for a third combination, just to see how it sounds. Let's do an F major to a C major, to a G major to an A minor. F major, C major, G major, A minor. Now, a great number of popular songs have been written using just these 4 chords. And just go online and look for some of your favorite songs and see which ones were written using C, F, G, and A minor. Now, one more thing before we conclude for today, and that is basically what you can do to add some motion and interest to your playing is once you've hit a chord, just repeat it at constant intervals. So I'm going to play it, and then hopefully that will give you an idea of what I mean. And I'll play, let's say, a C major to an F major to a C major to an F major and so forth. While I'm playing, by the way, I'm holding down my piano pedal, so you can't see it with the camera, but all of keyboards today come with pedals and pianos come with pedals, and the nice thing about the pedal is that if I don't press the pedal and I press a note and let go, the note stops. But if I hold down the pedal and I press the note and I leave it, it keeps on ringing. And the same goes with a chord. Without a pedal and with a pedal, so the idea is to hold down the pedal for as long as you're on a particular chord. When you switch between chords, be sure to depress the pedal so the previous chord doesn't keep on ringing when you switch to the new chord. So I'm keeping my pedal pressed here, depressing it, and when I move to the F major, can I depress it and press it again, depress and press, and so forth. So this will give you a nice full sound when playing. And of course, the sort of quintessential song that you probably want to check out for these 4 chords is Imagine by John Lennon. Do go ahead and have a look. And in the next lesson, I'm going to show you 4 different ways, interesting ways, in which you can make your playing sound more interesting. So not just push down the chords, but make it sound more mature, complex, and sophisticated. That's it. I hope you've learned something interesting. Welcome to your first lesson for playing the piano. I hope you'll have many more and enjoy your path, and I'll see you next time. Hi. Welcome back to the Beginner Piano mini-series. In the last lesson, I've shown you 4 chords and explained a bit how you can string them together and how to play them using the piano pedal. We've encountered C major, F major, A minor, and G major. Now what I'd like to do is show you 4 tricks which you can use when playing these chords to make your accompaniment sound richer. We're still going to focus on the case where you're playing the chords with your right hand and the sort of bass with your left hand, and I'm assuming that you're singing along or you have your favorite song and either you're singing or your friend is singing, or you're aiming for more of an accompaniment. So the first thing is that you can do is you can double the bass. So far we've played the bass using just one finger. We played a C, an F, an A, or G, depending on the chord. Now I'm saying that you can, if you're playing a C, take your left hand, stretch it like this, such that your 5th finger hits the C, and your thumb hits the C an octave above it. This sounds fuller than just playing a single note bass. So a double bass is really a fun, sort of a very, very pervasive technique in popular piano. And when you shift between chords, your bass has to jump as well. C to an F, F major, to an A minor, to a G major. So you saw that the left hand jumped from a double C to a double F, to a double A, to a double G. So that's trick number 1. The second trick which you can use is when you play the chords, you can, one type of accompaniment is one that tries to mimic how guitar players play. So you can simply play the chords with a certain emphasis, and what we're going to use is 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Let's see how this sounds like with a C major chord. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Let's play this with a progression. Let's do a C to an F to an A minor to a G. So here's how it will sound. When you start out, this is going to be difficult because you're going to have to jump around both with your left hand and your right hand. So when you practice this, make sure to practice slowly. Start slowly. Don't try to play this at full speed. Really just try playing it slowly, as slow as you need to get it right. And the trick to this is really to keep this sort of 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, so this sort of accent going. And for that you have to have good technique when switching the chords, because you want to give the emphasis at the right points. Here's another tip or technique that you can use to spice up your accompaniment, and it's called arpeggiation. What you do is, instead of playing all of the chord notes at once, you simply arpeggiate them. You play them one at a time. So this is for more of ballads, for ballads or softer, slower songs. This was for C major. And of course you could do this for any chord. Here's F major. And let's play this with a progression. Let's do an F major, going to a G major, going to an A minor, going to a C major. So the chords are going to be F major, G major, A minor, C major. And this will repeat. With arpeggiation, it will sound like this. So this was a third trick. By the way, you don't have to play the arpeggiation pattern twice. You can just play it once. So it's up really to you and the song and what you're trying to play. Now for the fourth trick. And in this fourth trick, what you're going to do is you're going to play alternating notes within the chord. Let's take the C major chord, and it has these three notes, this G, C, and E. And we'll call them 1, 2, 3, just to label them. So what you're going to do is you're going to play 2, 3 together, and then the 1, then the 2, 3, and the 1, 2, 3, 1. So it's going to sound like this. When you play it, you're going to want to emphasize the 2, 3 slightly more than the 1, because it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So let's take the same progression, F, G, A minor, C, and play it using this trick. F major, G major, A minor, C major. That's it for now. I hope you've learned something interesting. In the next lesson, we're going to add a few more chords to your repertoire, and that will let you cover even more songs. That's it. I'll see you next time. Welcome back to the piano series for beginners. And today I'm going to teach you some more chords that you can use in playing your songs. So in the first lesson, we've introduced 4 chords. And in the second lesson, we've discussed how to play these chords in interesting ways. And today I just want to add a few more chords that will substantially expand the palette of songs that you can actually play. So a short recap. So far, what we've looked at are the C major chord, the F major chord, the A minor chord, and the G major chord. So at this point you should be fluent with playing these 4 chords. Now I'm going to introduce 5 new chords. And these are going to be, I'll play them fast first of all, E major, E minor, A major, D minor, and F minor. Now, these aren't all of the chords out there. There are many, many more that we haven't seen yet, but these really sort of let you dig into a large chunk of popular music. Let me start by showing you exactly how to play each of the chords I've introduced. So let's start with the E major chord. So for the bass, I'm going to play an E. And in the right hand, I'm playing a G sharp, a B, and an E, using my thumb first. So well, that would be the second finger and fifth finger. So first, second, and fifth. Now for an E minor, all you have to do is take this G sharp and flatten it. That is, play a regular G. And then you'd be playing an E minor. Then the third chord that I'd like you to learn is A major. So you have A in the bass, and then you have A, C sharp, and E in the right hand, played with the first, third, and fifth fingers. And one way to remember it is that it looks exactly like A minor, only with this C sharpened. The fourth chord is D minor. So you have D in the bass. You could have a double, a double octave. And in the right hand, you're playing the chord, you're playing an A, D, and F, using your first, third, and fifth fingers. And finally, we have F minor, where you have F and D left hand bass, and in the right hand you're playing A flat, C, and F, and I play them with my first, second, and fifth fingers. Now I'll say a few words about these chords before concluding the lesson. First of all, pay attention that the minor and major variants of a chord are really very similar. We had A minor and A major. So they really have the same note except for one note, which is just, they're slightly next to each, well, they're basically next to each other. Minor, major, A minor, A major. Same thing goes for E. Here I have E major, and here I have E minor. E major, E minor, E major, E minor. And the same goes for F. F major, F minor, major, minor, major, minor. So there's some logic behind it, which we'll get to in a subsequent lesson. But for now, it's just something for you to pay attention to, and it also helps you memorize the chords. If you remember how A minor looks like, then you know that A major is kind of looks the same. The second thing I'd like to talk about before concluding this lesson is getting you to start to think about chord progression. So a chord progression is a series of chords that you play one after the other. It's a pretty simple idea. And the idea is that some chord progressions sound better than others. For example, here's one that I think doesn't sound really as fluent or as fluid. Just a couple of chords I've put together. So I guess it sounds okay, nothing too special, but some progressions do sound better than others. And let me give you an example. I'm going to play a C, A major, D minor, F minor, C, A major, D minor, F minor. So I'm going to give you a little exercise before concluding the video, and that is play around with these different chords. You now have 9 chords under your belt at this point, and try to come up with progressions that sound good to you. This is like a personal task, because each of us will have slightly different progressions that we prefer. That's why we also like different songs, right? You might not like the song I like. So this is kind of a personal challenge that has come up with progressions that sound pleasing to you. That's it for now, and I hope to see you next time.
Hello students and welcome back to the classroom. Tim here again from Lessons on the Web, and today we are doing two-handed piano playing, and more specifically I'm going to give you some tips on two-handed piano playing as well as some examples and some exercises that you really need to take advantage of to develop your two-handed piano playing, to really get over that struggles that a lot of us have when first putting hands together, and especially playing different rhythms and different notes while hands together. So if you struggle with this lesson's for you. So we'll get right on to it. First, we're going to start with some general tips I have about playing with both hands. The very first one I have is learn the piece, example, scale, arpeggio, whatever you're trying to learn it hands separate first if you are a beginner. And then once you kind of feel like you have it down, hands separate, then put it hands together. Now this will help you at first because it will just give you less things to have to really concentrate on, think about. Because if you really know what you're playing with both hands individually, it'll just be a little bit easier to connect it when you put hands together. It may sound simple, may sound straightforward, but it's always a good tip for beginners. Now as you get more advanced, you may want to start playing two-handed right off the bat, but by then you should be a bit more comfortable playing with both hands. Okay, general tip number 2 is play slowly. This is probably the most important tip because probably most of my students make this mistake, including myself at times. You want to slow down your playing when you're playing something that you find difficult. So whether it's playing with both hands, playing a difficult section, playing a piece that's a little bit above your level, you need to play slowly. Probably the most important thing. You don't want to rush through the music. You want to have patience, and you want to have a level of what we call musical maturity, which is really not rushing through things, not trying to get to the goal too soon, really approaching this logically and patiently and consistently, most importantly. Okay, number 3 is when first learning to play hands together, avoid examples with complicated rhythms, or just examples that are too complicated in general, whether it's pitches, rhythms, or anything about it. If it's something that's way over your head, you're just not going to be able to play it hands together. You want to play something probably a bit on the easy side when you first start to learn how to play with both hands together. Okay, on with the resources that I suggest you practice from, or the things I suggest you practice. Number 1, and you're going to sigh and maybe think this is boring, but scales. So learning your scales is important, but playing your scales, especially syncing up both hands, is very important in developing your dexterity and your ability to play with both hands up and down the keyboard. And it's really good for finger crosses and things like that. But like with everything else, like I said, is you want to learn them hands separate first. You want to learn them one scale at a time. And then once you feel like you can play the scale, both hands separately pretty well, then you want to put it hands together. And remember, the important point, the most important point, is what? You want to go slowly so you can play them together. If you are all over the place, you need to slow it way, way down. Okay, now I have a special little exercise I made up. I'm probably not the first person to make this up, but I really think it would help those of us who right now are thinking about the scales and be like, oh, well, Tim, I already know how to play the scales very well. I can play, the same note at the same time. I don't struggle as much with that. It's playing different rhythms between the hands that I struggle with. If you're one of those people that says that to yourself, then here's a little exercise to make the scales a little bit more challenging and to develop the interdependence between both hands. So the one thing I want to suggest is start with the key of C. Make it easy, right? You don't have to worry about the sharps or the flats. So what you want to do is you want to play the scale in whole notes with your left hand and half notes with your right hand. What does that mean really? Well, that means for every left hand note, I'm playing 2 right hand notes. And of course it'll be a little slower. I'm moving to the second left hand note, I'm going to play the next 2 right hand notes. Now when you get to the top of the scale up here, you come back down. Whoops. Oh yeah. Let me start again. Sorry about that. And then when you get to the top, you turn it back around. And then when you get here, you're still going to go all the way up to the left hand, top of the left hand scale, while it's still coming down and then meeting in the center. And if you time it out right, you'll wind up in the center. If you're off a little bit, your notes won't be exactly right. And then what you want to do is then speed it up a little bit. Maybe you could do half notes in the left hand and quarter notes in the right hand. Once you're feeling a little bit more confident with it, just like that. So that will get you playing different rhythms with each hand. Now what I want you to do, and I highly suggest, is flip it around the other way. Play the longer notes with your right hand while playing 2 notes with your left hand. And like I said, at first you want to start with whole notes in your right hand and then half notes in your left hand. And it will seem a bit slow at first. And then if you do it right, you'll land on C at the exact same time. Now, what if that starts to get too easy? Well, you can always speed it up, right? You can start to play, eighth notes maybe with your right hand and quarter notes with your left hand, so it'll be twice as fast. Oops, let me do it again. Not bad. And then see as fast as you can get it. Maybe you're going to do 16th notes, which is 4 of these for every note I have in the left hand if I'm playing quarter notes. I think it was off time a little bit. Try it again. I did it right that time, and I know it because I landed on middle C at the exact same time. And then you want to go through this, and you want to do this with a lot of your scales, as many of them as you can do. That was the quicker notes in the left hand, slower notes in the right hand. And I know I had it right because I hit G at the same time. Now if you're doing it the opposite way, where you have the quicker notes in the right hand, you'll hit G together at the same time, or whatever scale you're on. So if you're doing D, it'll be like that. So I suggest you practice that little tip or that little exercise and do it in as many of the scales as you can. If you have a lot of trouble doing that, remember, the key thing is to slow it down. Start out, like I said, with just whole notes in the left hand, half notes in the right hand, counting slowly. And so forth. And then remember, you're hitting the right note, or you got it right if you end on either the outside notes of the key that you're in. So if you're in the key of C, you'll land on C. If you're doing it the other way, you will land on the middle note together. So just know that you'll be hitting the same note at the same time if you have it right and you have it synced up correctly. We're going to talk about Hanon exercises, which we do quite frequently on this program, this live stream that we have. So if you don't know about Hanon exercises, that's my website, by the way, but we are going to Hanon exercises. You just type it into Google and you hit enter. And like the first one, Hanon Piano Online. Now this is a great resource for two-handed piano playing examples. However, you may be seeing these, you can download them obviously. You may be looking at this and saying, well, these are the same note at the same time, kind of like the scales. But that's fine. That will still develop your two-handed piano playing, being able to sync them up. And every exercise develops a certain part of your hand. So the better you are at this kind of stuff, the better you will be at two-handed piano playing, because playing the same note at the same time in sync is still a coordination skill to have. So you want to practice these. So you can practice these. There's tons of them for free. Our live stream attendee, Rich, always talks about a book he has on hand. So there are many great books out there. It's probably maybe even a little bit better if you have the book than this. I know the options on this website are limited a little bit, but you know, it's actually a really good free resource. And then there's many, many exercises, as you can see. You can see, you know, that there are 20, and then you can obviously continue there. And then you can also look at play them in different keys. So you can play them in the key of G and the key of D. They have them written here somewhere. I think when you click on the exercise and then you scroll down, it'll say, yeah, different keys. So I could get it in like the key of D flat. Should be a little bit hard, but hey, it might be a really good practice. So practice these and practice them often. Learn maybe one at a time, one a week, for as many weeks as it takes. So if there's 40 of them, I think there's 30, but there might be more than that actually. But so if there's 40 of them, it'll take you 40 weeks to play through all of them. And then again, you only want to move on really to the next one once you feel comfortable playing the one before. So if it takes you longer than a week, don't fret over that, but make some kind of goal, whether to learn one a week, one every 2 weeks, and then every once in a while, if you go outside of the goal a little bit, so long as you come back, you will be in really, really good shape. So if you go to pianoexercises.org/exercises/Czerny, Czerny, by the way, CZERNY, he has a ton on this website, actually. This actually isn't his website, but he wrote all these exercises. This is a wonderful selection of exercises, particularly, it's either the first selection or the second selection is what I really recommend for this lesson. Again, you want to look through these and find something that's appropriate to your playing level. This is it. Okay, you see these now. Be careful that these are both in treble clef, so you need to be used to doing that. Whoops. And they're just like little tunes, little exercises to develop your two-handed coordination. They have very simple rhythms between either of the hands, so that makes it a little bit easier. Now, that doesn't mean they'll be absolutely easy. It might take you quite a few playthroughs to get these right. And you want to, of course, what is the tip of the day, by the way? Play slowly, right? And use the fingering they give you. They're nice enough to give you most of the fingering. It's always hard to play and talk at the same time. But go through these. You want to do maybe one a day again, or maybe even one a week, depending on how quickly you learn. And besides the fact that they're both in double treble clef, which you'll get used to, they are very, very handy exercises for developing, your interdependence between both hands. If you are more interested, if you have the scale thing down where you can play both hands in parallel, same notes at the same time is what I mean by that. And you're looking for more of a challenge, but not overwhelming. Like you may try Fur-Elise, or you may try a lot of other, classical piano music, and you find it's too difficult to play hands together, or maybe even a lot of songs are too difficult. Work your way up. Go through the things I talked about today. You want to go through your scales. You want to do the little exercise I gave you for those. That will take you quite some time. You want to add in Hanon into your exercise routine, which we've talked about quite often. And Czerny, so through this website, pianoexercises.org/exercises/Czerny. That's really it for the two-handed playing today. If you have anything you'd like to add, whether you're watching the recording of this or you're attending tonight, just let me know. And I could very well make a follow-up to this lesson, of course. If you're ever interested in learning more about the piano than ever before, over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, I have a ton of courses over there for you. And I actually have, coming soon, not exactly right now because I'm still planning it out. There's actually going to be an exclusive live stream for Academy students, and it might even be more than once a week. But I'm going to start with once a week, integrate that into my schedule pretty well. And this will really give an additional chance for you to communicate with me. On the website, we're going to talk about even more advanced topics, even a lot of tips we won't on the YouTube channel at this time. Hey students, check out some other videos that I recommend on the channel and subscribe to make sure you get all the updates when they get released. We have new videos coming out every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.